Welcome to Screen Chat. Here we chat to film and television professionals about their experiences and wisdom. Today, my special guest is Casting Director Maria Efthymiopoulos, with over 25 years of casting experience. Maria is the owner and the Senior Casting Director at 2Divas and was one of the founders and owners of Chameleon Casting and the well-respected acting school Brave Studios. Maria, hello.
Hello.
Hello. What have you been doing during this COVID times? Have you been okay?
Yes, I have to be honest. The beginning was rather stressful, especially kind of not knowing what we were dealing with and not knowing what was going to happen with our staff because the work dried up almost immediately, sort of, in the second half of March. We had a couple of jobs going on, but yeah, sort of working our way through, that's for sure. So I've been setting up my office at home and we've been working out how to do Skype auditions with actors via casting networks. We're now fully set up to be casting remotely, which is bizarre. It's the one thing I thought I would never be able to do with my job.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I can just imagine. Yeah. There's so many variables now that we have to sort of look at. So how is the work going with just all the self-taping?
Look, we have been receiving some self-tests, but the rest we've actually been auditioning people through Skype, linked up through casting networks so it can upload automatically into the system, and that way we can be directing actors and stuff because, I have to be honest with you, self-tests can be very hit and miss. Even if we are, because often we'll film an example, we'll send it off with instructions. It just doesn't always, seem to come back the way we want it. So with smaller roles, we'll organise self-tests, but with any larger roles, we're just Skype. So then we can direct people through the computer.
Okay. Yep. Maria, I met you a long time ago. I met you.
Darling. We go back a very long. Yeah, long way we go back.
This is when you're the founder and owner of Chameleon Casting, and I was there for a week in my early days of uni, and I did a week of just in the office. Do you remember?
I vaguely remember, but I can't remember which office we were in. Were we in Park Street or were we in Francis Street down the little laneway?
Park Street.
Park Street, yeah, okay. So that was when we were sort of expanding as, so to speak.
Yes.
And that was actually, when we moved to Park Street, I was just thinking about it earlier, like we had Sarah Alekna. I had Sarah Alekna working for me from Highway Casting, Mel Mack from Macintosh Casting, Catherine Polton was, who's now an agent, was working at Chameleon Casting. Joe Rippon, who was another casting person who did a lot of drama, was working at Chameleon. So, yeah, it was actually quite an exciting... And Fiona Dan, who was my business partner, of course.
That's right, I remember that. There's a long history as working as a casting director. Did you always want to be a casting director?
No. I didn't actually even know that it was a job. I did my Bachelor of Arts in Film and Television at the University of Technology in Sydney. And basically, I didn't even realise, like I said, it was a job. Casting was never really talked about as a job. I mean, and it was a very broad kind of range of film and television that we were doing, and I was doing creative writing and stuff like that. But no, I actually happened into casting by accident. So, yeah, I was dating a guy who I'd come back from overseas with, and he ended up joining an agency in Sydney called Peggy Lee Agency, which was Peggy Lee, I think, was some model from like the 50s or something. So, anyway, that was how I learned about casting, was being an agent, to be honest.
And what was the first day like having a business and running that business, opening shop on the day?
Oh my God, it was the most exciting thing, I have to say. Well, Fiona and I, started Chameleon together, and I guess that was I think that was my first official business. Yes, and it was just the most exciting times. So I used to work for McRae Way, which was a film production company in Francis Street, South Melbourne, and we ended up hiring. They had a shed next door that we transformed into a casting office, and I mean, things were really happening back then because this was the late, actually, no, it was the early 90s. So, advertising was pretty buoyant back then, and we were working with so many fun directors, and
Yes.
I learnt so much from the directors I was working back with in the 90s, I have to say.
Yes.
Mm.
After having that business, what happened? How did you meet Zoe from 2Divas Casting?
Well, I sold I sold Chameleon and I moved to Mexico because I don't know, I just was having a moment. And I have to be honest, I mean, I love the casting process, but this was pre-technology, and the thing about casting was it was extremely tedious in the way that we were briefing jobs. We'd have to fax out the brief. We'd have to sit there and go manually through filing cabinets where, we had manila folders with each actor's photo, resume, any photos we'd take. So it was very, very tedious. We'd turn up to meetings with directors with suitcases full of files. And yeah, I think I just needed a little bit of a break, and I ended up selling Chameleon and moving to Mexico. Yes, rando, I know. But anyway, when I came back to Australia, because my dad got really, really sick, and so that's when I met Zoe. I was working for a film production company in Paran called Black Cat, and he'd set up a Bollywood film distribution arm, which I was running, and she was working as a producer there. So that's when our friendship started, and then strangely enough, Chameleon were just up the road, even though I'd sold. And Fiona, because we were still friends, was looking for a new staff member, and I recommended Zoe, and she got the job. So anyway, and then as things went along, our friendship grew, and she ended up leaving Chameleon, and we ended up starting 2Divas together.
Amazing. So
yeah,
when you actually first started, how long was the pre-planning, and did you have a business plan?
Yes, we did. That was one thing, because I'd also done that with Chameleon, with Fiona, and I think it was the key to not only having a successful business, but having a successful partnership. I think was all about getting on the same page from the beginning and mapping out, a plan for where we wanted to go in the future. And it was actually very, very exciting, and also really gave us a great sense of understanding what our business was about, and how to make it succeed. Yeah.
So that vision carried on through many, many years. Did you change that vision as you were going on?
With 2Divas, or
with 2Divas?
I don't know that I've changed the vision as such. I mean, my vision was always, because Chameleon was so big, we employed so many staff. I didn't want another business that size. I definitely wanted, to be, because, more hands-on, working with clients and everything, and less of a business and more about the creative process. And look, that did change a little bit. We did grow, probably bigger than I thought with 2Divas.
Yes.
But, it's definitely been a really fun ride, I have to say. And, obviously, staff are the key to being able to operate a business, of the type we do as successfully as we have. We've been really lucky with our staff.
Yes. Yes, that is the key. What are the challenges, or what have been the challenges through the years that you've actually faced? I'm sure there are many.
I think honestly, staff would have to be the number one challenge.
Okay.
Because the staffing levels are so important because, you know, you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs for a while and then all of a sudden you get these jobs in and you've got to, and things change constantly in what we do. So you don't want to have too many staff that you're having people sitting around, you know, doing nothing for a lot of the time because we have to pay them. But you want to have enough staff to be able to service your clients when things change, you know, as they do so rapidly. Briefs change, shoot dates change, everything changes. So so you want to have enough staff to be able to service your clients, you know, in that moment, so that they're not, you know, we're not having to keeping them waiting. So the other, I think, big challenge was, you know, technology.
Yes.
You know, when I started, there was not even email. We weren't working on computer. We were typing up quotes. We were faxing things off. We were recording casting sessions onto pneumatic tapes. Taking photos, running them down to the Photoshop, waiting an hour, having to race back. I mean, it was really tedious, all that stuff. But when we swapped from tape to digital, I must say there was a lot of challenges for us. And there was a lot of double handling because we'd have to record onto a DVD hard drive. Then we'd have to, you know, label every person, do running lists manually, do photos. It was real, and you know, it was very, very stressful and tricky.
Definitely, I can imagine. It's also that digital disruption also happened with artists having to change from VHS to then CDs, and also sending them, and also sending 8x10 black and white headshots, which also changed to color. So that was a big change. And also just within the space of your office, you know, cleaning that out.
Was a joy, I must say. Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
Show reels, I must say, were always, I mean, great, but also the bane of our existence. You'd have these piles and piles and piles and piles of show reels, which, you know, you'd try and watch, you'd try and sort them, you'd have one pile for watch, one, but the truth of it was they just took up so much room and they were already out of date the minute, you know, they arrived pretty well. Like if we didn't watch them straight away, which obviously, you know, if you're busy, you're going to be putting that to the side and doing it when you can. So yeah, sometimes by the time we'd get around to watching it, you know, it was, you know, that person had already totally changed, developed, done more work. So yes.
What about now? So now we actually have the digital age where we just can send everything through. Everything's uploaded really quickly. You know, we can actually send you selfies. We can send you self-tapes.
It's fantastic.
Much easier, isn't it?
Much, much easier. Look, I think, you know, also, like, you know, because people would send in show reels and they'd just sit in a pile, like I said, until we'd actually have a big chunk of time to sit and go through them all and everything. Now the great thing is we get links. And even if I can't watch it at the time, I've got my little folder in my email, and then in between I can be looking at show reels or, you know, and the other great thing is too, you know, even when we're casting, we're on casting networks or Showcast, and you don't know someone, if they've got a video there, then, you know, we can click on that and get to see what they look and sound like. And even if their work's not exactly pertinent to what we're doing, it really does give you a good indication of whether you want to meet this person for that role or not.
Yes. And now also just thinking about that space with casting networks, because back in the day it was AT2 casting. It was quite heavy with AT2 casting, and now it's casting networks, and they've taken the competitive advantage. So would you say that you are actually using casting networks more these days? So how and I don't want to, you know, be rude, but why is that?
Okay, no, not rude at all. Look, I mean, it's unfortunate for AT2 because they were kind of the first one on the scene that digitized all the actors, you know, as a directory, which was fantastic. But, you know, unfortunately for them, what casting networks did was create a system that was so good for casting directors to use because, like I said, the uploading, the time, the processing, the naming, the double handling, triple handling, they have created a system that just makes it so easy for us to brief the job, schedule the job, you know, bring in the footage. We don't have to be naming anything. Once it's set up, and it's saved us an inordinate amount of time, which is why I think they've had such massive traction all over the world, you know, in English-speaking countries because of the fact that they've designed this for casting directors. So once all the casting directors are using it, I guess, then, you know, inevitably you're going to have to get all the actors on there.
And not only that, it's the directors and producers are able to see those auditions. So once the audition's over, you're actually able to send it within an instant.
Correct. I mean, we can send off a link to the client and they can almost be watching people, not live, but literally 5 minutes after we've finalised their take. They can be watching them, you know, once they leave the room. Often you might get us sort of chasing you down the street because the director's watched and gone, oh my God, can we get them to do this? So, yes.
No, that's just wonderful.
It's amazing.
So I just want to go now into the actor's space and when actors actually do go into the room. What are the do's and don'ts for the actor? What do you like and what don't you like? And what have you seen through the years that, you know, they could improve in those areas and how can they manage that?
Okay, look, the one thing I want to start with, and this is before you even get in the room, I just cannot believe the amount of people, actors, who don't have their full profile on casting networks.
Yes.
So you click on them, all you see is a photo, their agent details, and that's all. And you know what? That is crazy because it's costing you work. You must put in the time and put your CV in there. Honestly, any actor that doesn't do that, they will definitely miss out on work because if I don't know you and I click on your profile and all I see is your name, your agent details, I just think, oh, they haven't had any experience. They've done nothing. And, you know, so, yeah, that's my number one bugbear. I can't tell you enough how important that is. Secondly, photos. You need to have at least one really decent photo of yourself, if not a couple. And, you know, and ultimately if you're going to have more than one photo, then what we're looking for, you know, is range of expressions or, you know, this supporting what types you could potentially be cast for. Don't have 10 photos of you looking with exactly the same expression because, again, we're looking for clues when we are looking at casting networks as to who's right, if, like I said, if we don't know you. So if I'm looking at your profile and you've got 10 photos and you've only got one expression, I just think, okay, well, they're limited.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, you know, I could be totally wrong, but this is what we're looking at, you know, as many clues as possible. So fill out your CV in detail. And also, if you're going to have multiple photos, you know, make sure you've got a range of expressions or at least types so that then we can be, you know, working out how to cast you. Make it easy for us to cast you. And don't limit yourself, like I said, by having one expression in 10 photos. You're better off having one decent photo. Please make sure your photo actually looks like you. The amount of people, because, you know, through casting networks, you know, when we're getting submissions, we see the photo that you've got on there. And then there's a little button on there which tells us whether you've actually been in to see us. So we can then click on the button, you know, to see who's been in and who hasn't. So many people just don't look like their photos. It's really not ideal for us because, you know, if I'm going to get a surprise when you walk through the door, I want it to be because you've done something in the audition room that's, you know, impressed me or that I wasn't expecting. Not me going, who is this person? Did I book them in? Did you book them in? Are they here for the right job?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So I think it's really, really important that people do actually look like their photos. You know, definitely get a new photo every, couple of years at least. You don't need to be updating it every year, but, if you change your hair, if you change your appearance, if you put on weight, then you definitely need to be updating your photo a little bit more regularly.
Yeah.
It's the one thing as an actor you really have to invest in is a decent photo. I mean,
yes,
minimum.
Yes. Yeah, they just can't send in selfies, can they?
Look, you know what? Even an okay selfie.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is clear, good lighting, no one cropped out of the shot, so you've got your boyfriend in the shot,
Right.
And head and shoulders is sometimes it's actually not unacceptable, depending on what it is. Ideally you would have something more professional than that, but even that's not a deal breaker for me, as long as it works and that's a decent photo.
Yes. What about show reels?
Look, show reels, do you mean in terms of the quality's key?
Quality, and also a lot of people like to do monologues, and personally I think that it should be with somebody else, so you actually
I agree.
You're actually listening.
Most monologues, yes. Well, monologues are generally a theatrical device, so they don't always translate well to screen. But look, there are screen monologues. If you're going to choose a monologue, then it has to be a monologue for the screen. Don't choose a monologue by someone that is really, really famous. Don't, because then what we're doing, especially if it's a scene that we know by an actor that we know, and this applies generally even to, other scenes, because then we're comparing you to the, the well-known actor. So it's, probably not going to work in your favour. Do make sure that you are the first person that we see on your showreel, so that way I'm not kind of trying to work out whose showreel this is.
Yes.
And definitely good lighting. The amount of times I've looked at showreels, and some of these pieces have been shot specifically for actors' showreels, and the lighting is so dark that it's really, really hard for me to see what you're doing. I mean, you're definitely not doing yourself any favours if I'm straining to see your expressions and your reactions, and, it's definitely not ideal. And even to see what you look like.
Definitely. Well, that sounds really good. How about when there's a showreel that there's a lot of people like to put in scenes with a lot of other people in there, but when you just want yourself, how would you sort of orchestrate the showreel? Would you recommend them edit out that person and not really worry about with what they're actually saying with the other person, or no? Or would you like to see a collated, really nice mainstream of different edits with different little clips that you've actually done? How do you like to see that showreel?
Look, I like to see a bit of an emotional range, and that is my main focus. So ultimately, I don't think you should be editing your scenes like, into two short bits, or editing around who's in the scene, because I think it's a really important part of us being able to see, your reaction to. So no, but I would start probably with, a scene that is really going to grab us and that has some kind of emotional arc in it, so that, you get us in. And then I think the important thing is to showcase a range if you can. Yes. So, yes, I guess that's what I would be recommending. And, if you are an actor that has a good range and you can switch from comedy to drama to, whatever, then this is your opportunity to do that. But not everyone has to do that. Not everyone. I mean, some people's strengths are comedy, so you can just have a comedy reel. It's really not about, having to search for things above and beyond. I think that should happen naturally. Do you know what I mean? As you develop as an actor. you know, I think a lot of actors are really scared of being typecast, but you know what? I actually think in the beginning of your career, being typecast is not such a bad thing, because what that does is allow casting people to know how to use you. So, you know, and then, yeah, that's an advantage for you guys, because if we know, because often we're working so fast, you know, I don't want to have to be sitting there trying to work out what role I can put you in. I just want to be able to go, oh, okay, Marcela, I can use her for this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then as we get you in and audition you, as we get to know you, as we get to see you in the room, see how well you're developing, see how well you take direction, then that changes, you know. So then we are not, you know, necessarily just typecasting you into a smaller sort of genre. We can expand on that, but that is a process. That's just something that's not going to happen overnight.
Yes, I agree. Maria, I'm cautious about time, and I've already taken up so much of your time. Maria, can we go to a few questions and answers now to our audience?
Of course.
Hopefully everybody's there.
Yes.
Thank you. Would anyone like to ask Maria a question? Let's have a look. So I've got I've got Jodie Haig saying hi, ladies.
Hi, Jodie.
Hi, Jodie. Crystal Stevens saying hello, working. Okay, a little bit of an echo. Sound is getting much better. People are saying working well. Anita Barnes, wondering in these times how Maria would like Maria would like actors to connect with her.
Look, I think email is always a great way to connect with casting people. You know, it's very unintrusive, because often, you know, if we're busy, you know, the last thing you want is actors calling up, you know, and you know, and we're in the, because sometimes we run around honestly like we're saving lives, and you know, I know we're not, but it's the urgency is just crazy. So email's a great way of keeping in touch, and honestly, I would actually recommend that you guys do that. Check in, you know, okay, either when you've got something coming up, say for example, you know, you've got a role on Neighbours or something that I can, you know, that Jodie's doing, she can email me and say, by the way, check me out, I'm doing this. Or when you've got an updated show reel or material, then definitely email us. Don't be, you know, at least once a year. And, you know, it's okay also to email and say, look, you know, haven't seen you guys for a while, you know, how are you going? Keep it personal, keep it fun. You know, I had an actor email a while ago going, you know, I haven't seen you guys for a while, and he made some really funny joke, and I was like, oh yeah, my God, Andrew, I haven't seen you for ages. I don't know what's happened. Maybe, you know, because we're also relying on agents to put you forward. So yes, if you haven't been seen for a while, it might be that your agent hasn't put you forward. So you're not in our, you know, in the forefront of our minds for a while. It's definitely fun. I would encourage actors to check in, you know, with casting people for a specific reason, though. It's not something that you just want to do willy-nilly, you know. So like I said, either you've got a show coming up, or you've, you know, whether it's a theatre show, whether it's, you know, something on TV, whether you've done something, you know, digital, you've got a series on YouTube. If you've got a new agent, you should definitely email us and let us know, because they won't necessarily, you know. So, and that way at least we know where to find you when something is happening. So, yeah, definitely be sending off the odd email to the casting people, folks. Don't be scared of doing that.
Damien says, hello. Hi, Maria. Hi, Marcela. Let's see, there's another question here. Jodie Haig, do you think self-tapes will be back in a new way forward? We'll be back in the room anytime soon.
Look, to be honest, I'd rather have you guys in the room. It's probably going to be a while, obviously. Who knows? I wish I had a crystal ball. I really don't enjoy all this, you know, remote working. I think, you know, for me, you know, the reason I love casting is because I'm a people person. So it's very strange not having that same, you know, kind of tactile, being able to work with someone in front of you, delays, things dropping out. It definitely is not ideal.
Yes.
You know, and I know that because I've noticed, obviously, with a lot of acting schools and stuff now, they've gone online, and I'm curious to see how that is going for people because, you know, I was running all my Audition Pro courses and I love being in the room with actors. I just can't imagine, you know, how that would go for me online. I've been very reluctant to do that. It's a weird one.
Maria, what about your Audition Pro? Can you tell us a little bit more about your course?
Oh, okay. Well, yes. Look, at this stage, up until this stage, I've been running mainly a one-day course, which is basically focused on auditioning skills, but also on marketing yourself, on making sure you've got the right agent, on relationship building within this industry, on trying to, you know, I review your photos, I review how you're marketing yourself. So as well as putting you through your paces in the room. So it's I've had amazing feedback about my course, I must say, and I love it. I love it because for me, you know, it's always about demystifying the process and making sure that you guys get the best shot because let's face it, it's shrouded in secrecy. You don't very often get to have a you know, an honest relationship with a casting person who's going to say to you, this isn't working, you need to try this, you need to do this. Yeah, this is one of the reasons, you know, I started Brave Studios back in the day was because I really, you know, it was always been my passion to try and, you know, help actors through this veil of, you know, not much other than the odd, no, you didn't get the job. You know, it must be so tough. And I really, yeah.
You are the most generous person I've ever met in my life.
Thank you. No,
seriously. I mean, even when I started the agency, Talent Artist Management, you know, you were the first one to, you know, help me out and get me through all those stages. So I really appreciate your help, Maria. So with going back to Audition Pro, where can we find you? Is it auditionpro.com.au?
It's actually auditionpro.co, but stupidly my website is not quite finished yet, so it's nearly there. I was actually almost finished, and then when COVID hit, I thought, you know what, I don't actually even know what I'm advertising at the moment. Because I don't want to run courses online at this stage, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to have people back in the room. You know what I mean? So
yes.
But definitely, you know, within the next 12 months, I definitely want to get back out there, and you know, I'm also expanding my repertoire of you know. But look, que sera, who knows?
Wonderful. Well, this has been fantastic and it's been wonderful to have you today, and I really, really appreciate your time, Maria, and with all this technology fluff that happened at the start.
Darling, it's my pleasure, and so lovely of you to say all those lovely things about me. You've definitely made me feel... Oh, thanks, gorgeous. I've always, you know, we do go back a long way, and yeah, just so happy to see you doing so well as well, and you know, being so proactive, and you know, you're really driven. You're always really impressive, Marcela.
Oh, thank you, Maria. Lots of hugs, and you know, all the best, and keep safe through this time. And let's thank all the healthcare workers out there in the world, and let's stay positive through this time.
And chin up, guys. I know it must be so hard, and I know a lot of you, you know, didn't manage to get on JobKeeper, which sucks so bad. And you know, it's not always easy to keep motivated, and everyone's probably thinking they should be shooting this and they should be shooting that. You know what? The most important thing is just to try and keep yourself buoyant. I think get in touch with what you love, whether it's books, plays. Just to, you know, just try and keep yourself buoyant and just take the pressure off. It is what it is. We will get back to normality soon, and hopefully I'll see you all in the room for some auditions.
Definitely, wise words. Thank you so much. All right, well, have a lovely day today.
Thanks, gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. See you. Bye. Thanks everybody. That was Maria from 2Divas Casting. It's just so helpful, wasn't she? Now, if you really enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up because we want more videos like this. We want your support, and we do want you working out there if you're an actor, and if you would like to become an actor, just try to find 2Divas, and I'm sure that they'll be happy to see you. All right, well, take care, everybody, and bye for now.